Recently, a video went viral of Scottie Scheffler, the current top-ranked golfer in the world, during an interview where he talks about how winning feels really great for a moment, but then it's over. He said, "It feels like you work your whole life to celebrate winning a tournament for like a few minutes. It only lasts a few minutes, that kind of euphoric feeling, and then it's like, okay, now what are we going to eat for dinner?" Then he goes on to say, there's a lot of people who make it to what they thought was going to fulfill them in life, and then you get there, and all of a sudden, you get to number one in the world, and then they're like, what's the point? At some point in our lives, we probably all thought something along the lines of, I'm going to go to school, then I'll graduate college, and then I'll get a good job, I'll find a partner, maybe start a family, and then life will be good. Things will be smooth sailing from there. I will have arrived. Or maybe we felt that way about a specific goal or achievement. Once I get that job, or I make that amount of money, or once I get into a relationship, that's when I'll be satisfied. That's when things will be good. And it feels like there's this destination we're aiming to reach, except there is no destination. There is no arriving. There is no there. So we end up striving for these milestones or this place in life or these achievements, only to find when we get there, it doesn't actually have this massive impact on us. Maybe it felt really great for a bit, maybe it felt surprisingly neutral, and then life just goes back to being life. We didn't step into this permanent place of satisfaction or fulfillment or joy. And this is such a great example of what's known as the Arrival Fallacy, which is the assumption that getting to a certain place in life or achieving a certain thing is what's going to bring us lasting fulfillment and satisfaction. We believe that once we hit that point or once we get that thing, we are going to get this lasting sense of, well, that's when I'll be satisfied. That's when I can enjoy my life. But that's not how it works, hence why it's called a fallacy. And in this mindset, we are robbing ourselves of so much joy and satisfaction and peace we could be experiencing now, because instead of being focused on the good things that we have in our life right now, or the joy that we could be experiencing, we are focused on what it is that we don't have that we think we really want. I also recently came across an interview with Will Smith where he compares rock bottom and what he calls cliff top. Cliff top being the place where you've gotten everything. You have so much, you've achieved so much. And in that place where you have everything, you end up in this abyss where life loses all of its ability to sustain and please you. And then the only thing left is finding what you're really looking for, which is you. He says, at rock bottom and at cliff top, you have to learn how to generate that feeling without anything external. You have to learn how to like you so much that you like being alive so much that you bring positive energy that's not generated by stuff. The place that we have to find is a spiritual place where we are good with us. We trust us. I trust myself, I trust God, and I trust life. That whatever happens, I'm going to make happy out of it. I don't need specific things to happen. So what do we do with this? Well, first, I think it's important to ask ourselves why we want what we want. And if we think it's because it's going to give us some sense of happiness or fulfillment or enjoyment, or give us something that we feel like we're lacking now, then I think it's really important to explore that and just explore if that's something we actually do want. And then back to Scottie Scheffler's question, well, what's the point? Well, I personally believe that one of the points is the satisfaction and fulfillment we can get from actually working towards something. I think that is such an integral part to our own fulfillment as human beings. And that satisfaction and fulfillment comes from that working toward rather than the trophy itself. I also believe the point is who working towards something and going after your dreams leads you to become, because along the way, you are forced to learn certain lessons and gain certain skills and grow in a variety of ways. You don't just learn how to swing a golf club better. You learn skills like emotional regulation. You learn the skill of getting out of your head and into your body, which, while that's such an important skill for everyone, is pretty much necessary for pro athletes. You learn how to fall down and get right back up. You learn how to gather yourself right after you mess up. You learn how to persevere and keep going in the face of adversity. You learn how to face your fears. There are so many skills that we gain along the way. And at least in Scottie's case, he mentions it being really fun for him. And I actually think that's part of the point too. I think a lot of us need to prioritize and understand how important it really truly is to have fun in our lives and to enjoy our lives more. But I think the greater takeaway, the more important thing, is that we don't need to put external things up on this pedestal of once I have that thing, that's when life's going to be good. That's when I'm going to be satisfied. Or, believing our brains when they say things will be good once I have X. Going back to what Will Smith said, at that point and place where you have everything and you've achieved so much, you're kind of forced to learn that lesson of, oh, it actually has to come from within me. This is more of a choice. It's learning how to generate those feelings for ourselves and how to do life differently. It's not all these external things that are going to make us feel that way. But we don't all have to get to that point, either rock bottom or cliff top. While I'm sure a lot of us think cliff top sounds quite nice, to learn that lesson. We can all learn that lesson right now. So then it becomes this journey of learning how to feel happy and fulfilled and satisfied within our life right now. And then within our day-to-day, just in general, we can learn how to create the feelings that we want ourselves. We can learn that we can be happy no matter what happens because we are not attached to external circumstances or outcomes. We're not relying on other things to be happy or to be okay. We can learn how to enjoy the journey and not spend the journey so stressed out or worried about how and when we're going to get to whatever it is that we've put up on a pedestal of what we really want. We can learn how to be satisfied with what we have right now. We can learn how to appreciate all the little things. We can learn how to choose joy more often than not. We can learn how to create happiness within us and then let that bleed out into everything we do and to everyone around us. And to me, that is the beauty of it all, the beauty of inner work, because not only is it enriching and enhancing our own experience, but it is also positively impacting others. And at this point, you're probably thinking, yes, but how do I actually do that? And first, I just want to say this might feel really tricky and might feel even trickier depending on where you live and what culture you're from. For example, here in the US, we get so bombarded with the message that success and achievement is what leads to happiness and fulfillment. It's what makes you valuable. It's what makes you good enough. And we are so used to these mindsets and this way of living because we've lived this way for however long, that of course it is going to take some effort to do things a little bit differently, to think a little bit differently, to live a little bit differently. And I actually recently created a video that's all about this, all about how to enjoy your life so much more right now without anything external changing. So you can go ahead and check that out in the link above or in the description below. But I don't have the answers. I don't have it all figured out. I'm a 28-year-old girl. What I do know is I have a huge history of anxiety and depression. I am someone who always innately leaned more toward thoughts that were more negative, perspectives that were more negative. If we look at a spectrum of just the natural perspectives that we hold or thoughts that tend to come up, I always leaned more on the negative side. I was someone with a very typical victim mentality. I was someone who would be so attached to certain things and people and outcomes because I thought that's what I needed in order for me to feel okay, to feel at peace or happy. And at some point, I decided to get rid of all those narratives, to do some inner work, and I have completely changed so much. I am a much calmer, happier, optimistic person now. But even with that huge change, even with that big transformation, I can still find myself slipping back into a little bit of dissatisfaction because I do have these big dreams and these big goals and these life experiences that I want to have and can focus on how I don't have them yet. But also, that's not how I want to live my life. I don't want to experience my life in this dissatisfied state or feeling like things aren't good enough if I don't have that thing. And so through experiences, I have learned what helps me get into a place of really enjoying my life for what it is right now, of being satisfied and fulfilled and just being at peace with where my life is. And so again, no, I don't have it all figured out, but I can share what has helped me. I dive a little bit deeper into all of this in the video I mentioned, but here are some bullet points. Number one, this is a way of thinking and being and doing life. So if this is how we want to do our lives and how we want to feel within our lives, then we're going to need daily or weekly or some kind of routine practices that will help support this, right? You don't run a mile once and then you're fit forever. You don't eat vegetables for a month and then you're healthy forever. That's just not how it works. So you can find what kind of practices really help you and try to ingrain them into your day-to-day life. Number two is just in general learning mind management skills. Those are skills like learning how to not take your thoughts on as truth, learning how to change your own narrative. These are skills that I think everyone should learn and I really truly believe will change everyone's life. Number three is changing what you're focusing on, because what you focus on has such an impact on what our actual experience is, right? If we are focused on the things that we don't want, then we are more likely to feel those feelings of dissatisfaction. Whereas if we're focused on things that we really like and that we have, the things that bring us joy, we are going to feel more positive feelings. But also understand that how your brain is used to being right now, what it's used to focusing on, is its way of used to being, is your patterned way of thinking. It's how it's used to operating. So it takes time and attention and focus and effort and repetition to shift your brain's way of being. So we have to intentionally put focus on all the good in our lives, all the amazing things in our lives, right? Like daily or multiple times a day, looking at what do I really enjoy in this moment? What is going well? What am I grateful for? What do I appreciate? Learning to appreciate all the little things instead of waiting to feel appreciation when these big, huge things come into our lives, right? Our lives don't have to actually change. We just have to shift the focus. Number four is take on a new persona. I have come across so many stories of people who have changed their mindsets and aspects of their personalities. And so many of them have said that the fake it till you make it approach is what worked for them. And I think this can be such a useful way to get out of our patterned way of thinking and doing things, and can make it easier to take on new perspectives and just do things a little differently. Pretend you are someone who feels so blessed in your life, who appreciates all the little things, who feels so grateful, who's more positive and maybe has more of a happy-go-lucky attitude. Number five is to reframe things, to romanticize everything in your life, because why not? It can make such a difference. For example, I'll use my job. So I could have the mindset and the perspective that with my job, it's pretty stressful. There's a lot of pressure. Income fluctuates a ton. I have to get up so early in the morning. It's such an energetically taxing job. Within what I do, I can only trade time for money. Or I can look at my job through the lens of, I have so much fun in my job. I get to make amazing relationships with what I do. I get to have fun working with people while learning about them and making a positive impact on them. I get to set my own schedule. I get to be surrounded by all these amazing people. There are just so many benefits, right? Same job, but in one, I'm looking at all the downsides, and the other, I'm looking at all the great things about it. And we can do that with any aspect of our lives, right? It's all about the perspective that we're holding. Number six is choosing joy. Just asking yourself, how can I make this thing more fun or joyful? How can I bring more joy to this? How can I show up as a more joyful version of myself? What's a more joyful perspective here? We don't have to be like this all the time, 24/7, right? We're still humans, but bringing that more into our day-to-day lives. Number seven is learning more about yourself, getting curious about what actually fulfills you. And then when you find those things, write them down and then turn up the dial on those things within your life. As I was doing the outline for this video, I also came across a quote from Jim Carrey, and he says, "The effect you have on others is the most valuable currency there is." So much of what usually feels fulfilling is less about stuff and is so much more about who we're being, the impact that we're having on others, the quality of our relationships, and having quality time with others. Number 8 is allowing things to be what they are. There's another quote that says, "A key to happiness is allowing things to be what they are instead of what you think they should be." I have another video that's all about releasing the attachment to certain outcomes and releasing control and moving into a state of allowance and how to do that. So if you're interested in that, I will link that here as well. And on that note of allowing, we are not going to feel happy and fulfilled and satisfied all day, every day, and that's okay. There is an ebb and flow to life, and that is just part of the journey. And we can be okay with that instead of trying to resist it, and that will bring so much more peace. So if you take anything away from this video, I hope it's to catch yourself putting external things up on a pedestal or living in a state of dissatisfaction because you're not there yet, and releasing those narratives and choosing new ones that help you enjoy your life so much more right now. I would love to know what you thought about this video and this subject in general, so go ahead and just let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video or found value in it, make sure to give it a like and hit subscribe for future videos and to just support the channel. Thanks so much for being here, and I'll see you in another one. Bye.